This could end up a pretty long clip because there's quite a bit going on here, almost all of it positive I want to share with folks today. First off, we've had quite a bit of rain, a couple inches in the last week or so. This baby pool in the wintertime grows my Canadian garlic, which is now dormant. There's actually a vast number of bulbs beneath there. I let the soil get extremely dry to ensure dormancy, and I've now mulched it to control the weeds. And I'm probably going to start sprigging this with Lesbos basil cuttings. I'm bartering Lesbos and a few other things with a local restaurant for their scraps for my poultry, and their chef has gotten very fond of the basil. So that's the plan for that one. This one has turned into basically a catch-all as I redo this whole nasty east side for summer. But here's the victory side. Let's step back. Here's my rain barrel that Suzanne gave me that thankfully is full. And what I've been doing in my effort to be tidier, which is a perennial struggle of mine, anybody who knows me will tell you, I feel like I've largely civilized this whole west side. I've created a path by simply lining up the different containers I start seedlings in. You can see the water-wise container gardens I've made from discarded barrels that are letting me grow oodles of eggplant and hot pepper despite what had been a brutal drought until very recently. Back there's some Lesbos basil poking up. On this side, I'm using these cylinders to grow Cape gooseberries, which look amazingly like tomatoes. There's a spectacularly healthy Molokaya, leafy vegetable from Egypt, which I've gotten very fond of. And back there is one barrel I've not committed to yet. It's probably going to get more Molokaya. One problem here is I've got hyacinth bean seedlings volunteering, and I do not like this variety anymore. It's a green potted Filipino type that's quite tough. So I'm going to be continuing to pull up the seedlings this year and eliminate that strain from my property. This baby pool garden has allowed me to grow okra in the drought, and oddly, despite the heat, I've had a very healthy tomato seedling up here. Normally here in Tampa, tomatoes are a winter crop because of the heat. I've also had accidentally root in there some edible cactus cuttings, which I'm going to take out and pot and sell for the business. I had simply positioned them in there and they rooted. So there's that. Let's exit here. Hey, yo. It's going to be a mixture of reviewing good and bad things. Let's take a look at the ducks. These so-called baby ducks are now really big. 12 babies and a mama. I'm soon going to be clipping the flight feathers and moving them to the west bed for weed control. And since the soil in this cage is now hyper fertile, I'm going to see if I can grow Filipino white sweet potatoes, and hopefully the amount of shade from these grapevines will not choke them out. Okay, here's a bit of the bad. In just a very short time, this ungodly aggressive ground cover grass that I struggle with every summer in these back beds has popped up out of nowhere. Little colonies beneath the rooting table there. It's amazing how rapidly this stuff appears. So what I'm going to do today, since I don't want poultry loose in here due to it being a nursery area, I'm going to come out here with my shovel and see if I can lift up entire clumps and feed them to the ducks. I also want to eliminate this last patch of Bermuda grass. I'm thinking of using that green plastic cage back there that protects the calabaza as a miniature chicken tractor and putting in an individual clumps, like say that one there. And granted, it's a small space, but I feel just one chicken in there for a couple hours might well be able to buzz things down for me, kind of like a miniature version of what Joel Salatin does with his place. Now, a really good thing that's happening is my grapes this year. This is Gray Street grape, which is now showing some faint signs of ripening. A much larger fruit set than last year. Wherever I look, I see grapes. It's the entrance to the hen house. But what's surprising, and I'm guessing it's a drought response, is on the west side of the hen house where I grow Gracie's grape. Gracie's grape has already begun ripening at a tremendous rate, to the point that I better well make a large harvest today, or I'm going to have too many end up on the ground for the chickens. Gracie's grape of Longfelt is actually Blue Lake. Excellent Concord type flavor, great vigor. I'm just surprised to see it ripening so soon. This is the last hell zone. It used to be an area where I would use this deflated baby pool to keep pots in standing water. I've gotten sick of the lack of aesthetics of this area. So this is where the duck's going to be transferred to. I'm going to be emptying all these pots of soil into what's always been my apple snail bed. I mean my apple snail pond, which is right here. And I'm going to be stabbing the sides about 2 feet from the top of the machete, about 15 holes, and I'm going to be filling it in with soil from all these empty pots, and I'm going to turn it into a bog garden that'll be perpetually damp, so I can finally have a damp place for my guava tree, which I just purchased. He's right there. Got a big beautiful guava tree for 20 bucks, and also my jaboticaba, which is, they're both in standing water. I learned after the fact that they're essentially swamp trees. This area here is where I'm going to transfer the ducks to after I clip their flight feathers. Let them clear this area out after I take out all these pots, and let them do their thing, which is to eat weeds, poop, make the area fertile. And I've noticed that once they get large, the raccoons simply do not mess with them. When they're babies, being in that cage is essential. The last 2 batches I had hatch, within days, cats got the babies. But now that they're huge, I'm going to let them colonize this area, civilize it for me. I need to redo my solar shower water heating dish. My friend Mary Jo gave me some Mylar, and it worked, but as we expected, the lifespan was very short. Again, here's the weeds popping up at a ludicrous rate. I want to find out what this grass is. My cousin Mike thinks it might be something called, I think he said star grass, but it can literally trip you as it grabs the ground and marches along. I simply am going to win the battle against it. But literally 2 weeks ago, there was none of it. A little bit of rain, a little bit of heat, and boom, you got it. This area here is a nursery area for baby roses. I lower them into the water periodically for bottom watering, especially when we were having no rain, and then take them back out so they don't get wet feet. Here's a new planting of Molokai in this barrel. Same thing here. These have only been here about 2 weeks, and they are growing like crazy. The longer I grow Molokai and the more I eat it, the more I like it. Yesterday I made a small salad with blue cheese dressing, and today I'm going to be making other salads using it in some other crops. The heat has also resulted in my true yams erupting out of the ground from dormancy all winter long. This is an African yellow that literally has just barely started. The growth rate's phenomenal. When it first emerged, as usual, the chickens reached through and buzzed off all the new growth, but now the growth rate is so intense that the chickens can't stop them. Here's another African yellow here. I learned last year that the young leaves are edible in stir fry when they're tender. And what's interesting is I didn't really plant these per se. I did a few years ago, of course. But the cool thing about the true yams is when you go to dig up a yam for harvest, you almost invariably miss a little piece of root, which then comes up. It's essentially instant food. The African yellow, the flavor and the texture reminds me of the Caribbean white, maybe a little bit heartier. One last look at the grapes. And let's peek at some hungry ducks. How y'all doing? I think that's the original mama up there, not too sure anymore. No, here's Mama right in front of me. There's Mama. And she's now literally dwarfed by many of her kids. I have not slaughtered a duck yet, but I need to do it soon. I've got too many mouths to feed, and I don't have any roosters right now to eat. And so I think it's going to be time to get over my nervousness and my hesitancy, look at a couple more YouTubes of how to hopefully humanely slaughter a duck, and add that experience to my repertoire. Hey, Mama Duck. This pen has become incredibly fertile with 13 ducks in here for just under 4 months. And I love the idea of when the ducks are in the west bed of this area being used to generate a whole new source of food. I lean towards Filipino white sweet potato. Part of me is considering seeing if water spinach would grow in there in the dampness. Okay, let's take a look at the grapes again. And inside the hen house, I had a couple chickens go broody, and as usual, they did not do a very good job of actually staying in the nests. So what I did yesterday is I took out all the eggs and transferred them to the incubator to hopefully finish hatching in there. Well, this is how things are looking today on the Starnes farm. Have a good one, y'all. Bye-bye.